introduce our next speaker. We have a new speaker this year, Dr. Werner, and he's going to be talking about debunking human evolution. Dr. Werner is a retired emergency physician in St. Louis with a summa cum laude biology degree from University of Missouri and an MD earned at age 23. After a college classmate challenged to prove evolution, he spent 18 years studying the topic and then launched a decades-long investigation of the fossil record. Since 1997, Dr. Werner has traveled nearly 298,000 miles visiting 45 dig sites and 122 museums and universities, photographing thousands of fossils in their documented layers and interviewing more than 100 experts. He and his wife, Debbie, traveled to 16 countries. During this research, he is the author of the Evolution, the Grand Experiment series, including The Quest for an Answer and Living Fossils, presenting his findings through books and companion videos. He's going to be sharing that, and then we're going to break for lunch for about a 35-minute lunch. Thank you.
Okay, pay attention. None of this is on AI, and none of this is on the internet. This is cutting-edge information, and I would say 90% of you would not have heard any of it. So I'm going to give you 7 lectures in 20 minutes, and cut it down to just the facts. If you want more information, you can talk to me. Why does human evolution not work? Number one, we have been told for 50 years, my entire adult life, that humans and chimpanzees were 99% similar in their DNA, and that chimpanzees were our closest relative. And so it follows logically that just a few mutations from a chimp and you could get a human being. That's what we're told. Last year in Nature, the prestigious journal of Nature, they said, we made a mistake because when we were telling you that, we actually had never deciphered the entire chimpanzee DNA. We were doing snippets. But when we get the whole DNA of a chimp and put it next to the whole DNA of a human, this study, we're only 85% similar, which that doesn't necessarily sound like evolution at all. In fact, we're 15% dissimilar from chimpanzees in our DNA, and that's sounding even less so. In fact, we are 450 million letters different than a chimpanzee. 450 million. Now, that means that a chimpanzee would have to mutate 450 million times in the correct cell, in the correct place on the DNA to become a human being, a chimpanzee-like creature. What are the odds of just one mutation being in the correct cell on a chimpanzee? A mutation would be like, you get exposed to radiation or the sunlight or copying air. One mutation in the correct cell of a chimpanzee on the correct location of the chimpanzee's DNA. What are those odds? Well, a chimpanzee has 37 trillion cells and has 3 billion letters of DNA in every cell. And the chance of a chimp getting a mutation, and you need 450 million of these, in the correct cell, correct letter is 1 out of 111 trillion billion. Now that number is astronomically small. And you could say it in reverse, take the upside down of that number, you would need 111 trillion billion mutations in a chimpanzee to get one correct one. Well, that would kill the organism. What are the odds of 450 million mutations in a chimpanzee-like creature to get a human? It's that number, 111 trillion billion, raised to the 450 millionth power. So that's 111 trillion billion times 111 trillion billion going on for 450 million times. Game over. Thank you very much. We're just getting started. Put on your phones and record it, mama. Problem number 2, if I went around here and asked you how many frauds have occurred in the field of human evolution, and I say frauds carried out by the scientists, and this is the definition of fraud, not that they made a mistake, because people do that all the time. When the scientist knowingly misleads his colleagues by altering photos, altering fossils, altering diagrams, or hiding the most critical information. If I went through this audience and I said, using that definition, how many frauds? I think most people would just say 1, Piltdown, Maybe they come up with another one, but it's one or two. Debbie and I interviewed these 40 top evolution scientists, and we went to these 120 museums and universities, and we just did interviews, and when I started to add them up, it wasn't one or two, it was 150 frauds. 150 frauds by that definition, and you'd say, well, what is he talking about? We haven't heard of that. That's why I'm saying put on your recorders and listen to this, because this isn't an AI. I'm going to show you about 15 of them, or 20 of them, real quick. Here are the list of the frauds. Like Haeckel's drawings was 50 frauds, Neanderthal man was 4 frauds, Piltdown man was 5 frauds, Nebraska man, et cetera, et cetera. I don't have time to go through them each. But let's do the first one. This is F. Clark Howell. We interviewed him before he died. He made this diagram and was printed in Early Man, Time Life in 1965. Everybody sees this. This is why people believe in human evolution, this diagram. But when we interviewed him and interviewed his colleagues, we realized that he knew in 1964, when he's writing this book, he knew that 10 of these animals were not ape men. He knew it, and I can prove it to you, and you can go to my volume 4 and to see the evidence for this. He knew the first 5 were apes that did not evolve into humans, even though he put them on the road to Homo sapiens, and he knew these last 5 with X's were Homo sapiens. He put 6 Homo sapiens in that chart, and he knew they were Homo sapiens. Here's another fraud of these 150. Philip Tobias said he found a large-brained ape man, somewhere between the ape-size 500 cc brain and a human 1300 cc brain. He says, I have found an ape man around 750 cc's. He came up with 3 fossils, and they're all fraudulent. We interviewed his colleague, who is still alive. Raymond Dart was dead, and Dr. Ron Clark said he was responsible for putting together this first Homo habilis skull called STW53. And when he was finished, Tobias said, that's not big enough because it's only 500 cc's. Make it bigger. He says, I'm not going to make it bigger. It is what it is. He said, no, it needs to be really large, like 750 cc's. He says, I'm not going to do it. And you can see that he being Dr. Tobias, went around him, and this is his before, and Tobias had it enlarged from 500 cc's to 750 cc's by spreading the plaster. You see that? Whoa, whoa. And this scientist, his colleague, characterized it as a fraud bigger than Piltdown. Okay, there's another fraud. Then Tobias did another Homo habilis specimen, the type specimen OH7, and this is what he published in his monograph, 450-page monograph. And Debbie and I, doing the due diligence, flew to Tanzania, said we'd like to photograph all of his fossils. And when we did that and we came back, the fossils did not line up. These should look exactly the same. Where is segment B? Oh, B, which was used to make his fossil bigger, is plaster. Wow, nobody could catch that. The scientists never caught this. And look at segment A. I'm going to flip it over. Segment A doesn't belong to the skull. It's a different color. It's attached by a straight line, and there's plaster there to attach it, and then he photoshops the plaster black so it looks like natural bone. So that's his second fraud. And if you look at the other side, here again, you can see piece C is just a piece from another skull with a straight line. They're pretty easy to attach and try to build your case. And Tobias acknowledged, and this is why it's fraud, because he acknowledges that he pieced the Homo habilis skull type specimen from specimens he found elsewhere. They weren't next to the skull. Whoa. When we went to Kenya and we photographed the Turkana boy is Homo erectus. It's supposed to be, the creationists believe it's Homo sapiens, but I was taken back when I saw the actual skull. The body down, from the neck down, is Homo sapiens, but the skull, I said, shoot, that does look like an ape man. The face is projecting out. But when I got home, I took his picture and placed it next to my picture and realized, his is the black and white, of course, and mine is the colored, Debbie's picture, and it's like, wait a minute, there's something wrong here. What he did is he photoshopped the black filler on his photograph to show where fossils were missing, but he only does it where he wants to. If you look on my picture, the red arrows, he splits the skull there and adds filler. and he adds filler down here with the yellow arrows and the white arrows, allowing him to detach the face and move it out. I not confronted him, I wrote him by email before he died, by the way, don't let me ever interview you because they all die. I'm serious, we got about 13 dead so far in our series. But, and he said, you know, I said, first of all, why is your picture different than my picture? He couldn't answer that. I wrote the curator of the museum, he couldn't answer it either, why it was Photoshopped. And I said, I don't think that skull is right because it's too sticking out. He says, Carl, you're right. That skull is reconstructed wrong. It shouldn't be sticking out. It should be more like a human. Oh, okay, this is pretty easy. Dr. Johansson, he did 3 frauds. I'm just going to show you one. Lucy knee. He said this knee was from a human knee. He said all detailed analysis of his knee, of Lucy's knee, indicate that the hominid possessing it was capable of fully upright walking. It was like a human knee. Debbie and I did due diligence. We went to Paris. Debbie got a new purse in Paris. And we interviewed his partner, who died a year later from COVID. But he's on tape, so you know it's real. I didn't make this up. You know, you can see it on our video series. We said, what is the knee of Lucy? Is it ape or human? Knowing he's going to say human, because that's what Johansson's been telling everybody. He said the knee joint of Lucy was more looking like an unstable knee joint. And that was the basis of Lucy being an ape man, plus some other things. The third problem, this is the third lecture now. We're on the third hour. 237 ape men species that have been recognized in the past as ape men have now been overturned, not by me, but by evolution scientists. In other words, they'll come up with a new ape man and then they'll reject it 10 years, 15 years, 20 years later. And nobody ever knew this. Nobody ever went back and counted all the species of ape men. Well, here's what I did during COVID. I counted them. And here's the list of 237 ape men that have been overturned. This means that this field is unreliable. They're announcing and rejecting an ape man every year. Now, I won't bore you too long, go through all 9 categories, but this category is ape men made out of non-primate bones, like Tetrapathomo, that was an ape man made out of a raccoon leg bone. Or Hesperopithecus haroldcooki, that was an ape man made out of pig's tooth. Australopithecus prometheus, that was an ape man made out of a cat hip bone. Orsi ape man, it's still on display by the way, Orsi ape man is made out of a donkey skull. Flipperopithecus bozai was made out of a dolphin's rib, thought to be an ape man's collarbone. Here's another category, this is my favorite. This this scientist from Argentina was finding all kinds of ape men in Argentina. Debbie and I did due diligence, and we flew there, and we'd say we'd like to see all these ape men. Now, I just want to tell you the names of these ape men. They're extraordinary. Homo capensis, Homo diprothomo platensis, Homo pampeus, Homo cinnamento, Homo capedunclinatus, Tetrapathomo argentinus, and Homo neogus. That is impressive, and they go from 5 million, 4 million, 3 million, 2 million. He found the whole sweep of human evolution. He did, except it turns out it's Grandma Jones. So you buried Grandma, and she's been dead for about 100 years, and then you dig her up, and you say, oh, that's Grandma Jones's skull. No, that's not. That's Tetrapathomo argentinus. Oh, here's Uncle Billy's grave from 130 years ago. No, that's not a human grave. That's Homo pampeus, etc., etc., etc. That's how I came up with 237. Lecture number 4. 42,000 times evolution scientists have proclaimed that they have found an ape-man stone tool or an ape-man bone tool. And I got all the numbers for you if you want proofs for this. 42,000 times, and 42,000 times those stone tools got rejected by their colleagues later, 5, 10, 15, 20 years later. In other words, they were finding ordinary rocks on the left or ordinary stalactites on the right and saying these aren't ordinary rocks, these are anvils, these were scrapers, these were punches and all this, and this is a hand axe. And then they said, no, they're not. Oh, and this is my favorite. This guy says, I found an ape-man saw. And I said, really? That looks like an antelope jaw turned upside down. Oh, no, I found an ape-man scrub brush. These are his drawings. Oh, no, that's not a scrub brush. That's another antelope maxilla and an ape-man pickaxe. So That means that their tools are unreliable. Lecture number 5, thousands of age assignments that have been given to the ape men have been overturned. Thousands. And I didn't want to do another COVID, so I'm not going to count them all up. I'm just going to show you one. This is Nebraska ape man. It turned out to be the pig's tooth. If you just read the literature over time, first they said it was 1 million years old. Then they said it was 2 million years old. Then they said it was 3 million years old. Then 4, then 5. In other words, the reliability of these dates are not. You can just ignore all the dates because science says it has to be reproducible. Lecture number 6, many ape-man fossils are inaccessible, and nobody knows this, but now you all do. The ape-man fossils are inaccessible to experts. What? That doesn't sound right. Oh yeah, this is a phenomenon. I call them not persona non grata or a fully unacceptable person. I call them ape-man non grata. And these are ape men that you can't accept because they won't let you see them. For example, Pithecanthropus by Du Bois, he hid it for 24 years in the safe and also under the floorboards of his kitchen. He hid the fossil when scientists were coming to try to look at it. He said, nobody can have access. While I go around the world and promoting that Homo erectus is an ape man. Same with Neanderthal from Boole. He found this full skeleton of Neanderthal. The Smithsonian scientists kept flying, or not flying, taking an ocean liner to Paris. We'd like to see it. No, no, no. He never let anybody see it. His whole interpretation of it being a bent-over ape man came from him, and as soon as people had access, it was overturned. This is going on today. I won't bore you with the details. You can see that in episode 8. But it's a real phenomenon. Problem number 7 is after 150 years, we should have, I'll say 20 skeletons going from a chimp-like animal to a human, and they should be pretty convincing and full. It's 150 years. We should have the full skeletons, and it should all make sense. It doesn't, because the fossils that we have after this long search are fragmentary or they're incomplete. Look at Homo habilis. I can make that into a monkey, an ape, or a human. Look at Orion. I could make that into an ape, a human, or an ape man. Look at Ardipithecus. It's mostly missing bones. Even Lucy, the most complete skeleton, there's no hands, there's no feet, there's no neck bones, the skull is terrible. We should have full skeletons if this story is real. If it's not real, we can use partial skeletons and make up the story and fill in the blanks. So if you go into a museum today and look at the fossils on display at any of the museums, most of them fall into these 3 categories. They're either fraud-based, one of these 150 frauds I talked about, they're either fragmentary, where they're unconvincing, or they're inaccessible, persona non grata or ape-man non grata. And that is when evolution collapsed. When all this information came in 24, 25, the theory of human evolution collapsed. And when human evolution collapsed, naturalism collapsed. This idea that the earth came about naturally and that life came about through the origin of species. See, the scientists have known that the origin of the universe from the Big Bang doesn't work. They know that they can't form life and DNA from chemicals. They know that the animal phyla just suddenly appear, not evolutionary intermediates. And they know that the animals within the phyla just suddenly appear. They know the mechanisms of evolution are very sketchy. And even the best proofs of evolution, like walking whales, that was made up with they were adding flippers and adding blowholes to whales. You can see that in book 1, video 1. The flying dinosaurs, that is bogus. But everybody has been hanging on, well, we got human evolution and we got it good. No, you don't. You didn't attend Carl Werner's lecture at AIG or whatever this is. So I want everybody here to prosper and to walk out of here equipped. If you are a younger person and you go off to college and get a degree in physics or engineering or medicine, it's worthless if the professors talk you out of your faith. What good is it being an engineer if you lost your faith? You will not be able to stand up to your professors. You just don't have enough knowledge. They're very clever in their arguments. If you go through our video series, you will be prepared. If you go through, oh, by the way, it's on streaming too for those of you under 65. if you go through our book series, Debbie took 99% of these pictures in this book series of what you saw today. You will have a basic understanding of evolution and be able to refute it, and you will be really interesting to talk to. And this is my heart, that every person in this room will help me get this to the kids. That if you have a 7th grader through 12th grade or 7th grade through college, that they will take 4 semesters and learn creation science. You'll get the videos shot on location, you'll get the books, and you will be ready to refute your professor. Without it, I think the world's going to keep sinking. I do. With it, with these young guys here and gals, I think we could turn it around, and this is a turnaround point. So I want to thank you so much, and God bless you.